Kundalini, whether you know this or not, I will share a little bit. The symbolism is that it's a snake wrapped around the base of the spine 3.5 times. Why 3.5? Well, there are 3 levels of consciousness normally. Awake consciousness, sleeping consciousness, and dreaming consciousness. But there's something beyond that, and they call it Turiya, or the 4th level of consciousness, and this is super consciousness, that cosmic consciousness, that loss of feeling of separation where we have actual union, or everything is one. So that's the deeper level. So 3.5 is very symbolic. And basically what this means is this snake is sleeping at the base of our spine, and we're all born with Kundalini energy lying dormant, awaiting to be awakened. And it can be awakened many ways, sometimes in extreme situations. Men at war, women at war can have Kundalini awaken because it will give them superpowers to be able to deal with something that is beyond the normal range of our experience in life. Women in childbirth sometimes have it. And fortunately for women, a really strong orgasm can awaken their Kundalini. And what happens when Kundalini awakens is that it starts to travel up through the central channel, the spinal channel. And we have 3 main channels. There's one that is from the left nose down to the root chakra, and that is the Ida Nadi. It's the energy pathway that regulates the parasympathetic nervous system as we talk about rest and relaxation. And the other side, from the right nostril, we have Pingala Nadi that goes down also to the root chakra, and that's regulating the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, the stress response. So that's why when we do this breathing, it's very powerful because we need to clear these 2 channels before the energy will go into the central channel. So this is part of the path of Tantra Yoga, is balancing Ida and Pingala, and we can do it through different ways. Hatha Yoga is the balancing of the lunar and solar energies within ourselves. And the left side of the being, as I said, and the left nostril, as I just mentioned, is the lunar feminine side of our being. And the right side is the solar masculine side. So this practice, guys, I keep trying to plant the seed, is so powerful just by doing alternate nostril breathing. It has so many effects on different levels. So a little bit of this every day can be excellent for you. Now, once these 2 secondary channels open, and remember we have 72,000 nadis within the system connecting everything to everything else, and even outside of ourselves into the energy body, not just in the physical body. So when these 2 channels open, that's when you can actually start to move the energy into the central channel. And for some people, if it happens prematurely before they've actually gotten their system ready to hold a tremendous amount of higher voltage energy than normal, that's when problems can occur. And maybe we've heard things about Kundalini burnout or emotional and mentally being actually like fried or cooked from too much energy running through the system. And there are teachers out there, teachings out there that now in the modern world we have access to very powerful techniques that in the past took at least a decade to prepare for. It's usually a 12-year preparation where the student lived with the master, and the master could very closely gauge if this student was ready for something more powerful based on not only their energetic body, but also their moral compass, their ego desires, their ability to manage their, we could say, desires for success, really back to the ego again. But now that we have access to these teachings, and it's easy to go get a very powerful workshop and have an incredible teaching, sometimes not everybody's ready for that. And I've been with Yui in a workshop where we did these practices that come from an ancient master, and I was bouncing off the floor. Yui can tell me, it was one of the most dramatic experiences I've ever had, because when Kundalini awakens, it's no joke. So this is why we don't play with this energy. We very cautiously prepare our system to take in more energy, and we do it incrementally, step by step, preparing over the course of years, including diet, including what we put into our minds, the emotional state. It all has to be prepared. But by the time we had already had that workshop, I'd been doing yoga for 18 years, and I had a certain level of preparation. So I went through some really incredible experiences where I was getting downloads and messages, you know, and it wasn't just some voice speaking to my head. It wasn't like I was going crazy. It was nonverbal, but it was quite clear that it was coming from a source outside of myself, and it was healing my spine, of which I mentioned I had tremendous problems with as a young man. So this Kundalini activation is something that is part of the path. It's nothing to fear unless you are practicing unintelligently and with ego desire to do something that is beyond your reach in that moment. Okay, so don't worry about Kundalini energy, it's not a problem. Just know that this is part of our yoga journey, and I wanted to share it with you because people ask questions. What is Kundalini and what does it mean to you, and have you had any experiences? So all I can say is for me, it's been an incredibly beautiful, blissful experience, and I'm only just on the beginning of that awakening path. So through the act of actually making love to each other, we can start to awaken tremendous amounts of energy, especially if the man's not ejaculating, and you can make love for hours and hours and amplify. Remember, it's like build a peak, relax, build a peak, relax, and you just keep going higher and higher and higher. Now you have so much more energy flowing through you than you've ever had before.